Every time you shrink your voice, your posture, your presence, you are apologizing without words. Even if you do not say sorry out loud, the body already has spoken. It has said, I do not want to take too much. I do not want to be noticed. I do not want to disturb. And the world learns to believe you when you signal that you are small. The world treats you as small. It is not cruelty. It is simply how people read the room. They take their cues from the confidence you either give or hide. Think back to moments when you felt yourself vanish. Maybe in a meeting when you had an idea, but you lowered your voice and rushed your words. Maybe in a conversation where you let someone talk over you without pause. Maybe walking into a crowded room and moving quickly to the side, as if you were trespassing. Every one of those moments was a hidden apology, not written, not spoken, but clear as daylight. It said, I am sorry for being here. I am sorry for needing space. The cost of this apology is heavy, because when you teach the world that you will fold it, stops asking you to stand tall, people rarely give you more than what you demand from them. And if you demand nothing, you receive nothing. And it is not because you lack talent or value. It is because the signal you send is louder than your skills. It says, I do not believe in my own presence, and so neither should you. Children are taught early not to disturb, not to speak too loudly, not to draw too much attention. Some of that teaching is needed, but too often it hardens into habit. Adults who still believe that blending in is safety carry this into every room they enter, and they wonder why they are overlooked. They wonder why their ideas are stolen or ignored, why they are passed up for opportunities. They are doing everything right, working hard, being polite, being agreeable, but they are leaking apology from every gesture. Power begins the moment you decide to stop leaking it, when you hold your shoulders back and let your words land, when you do not rush to fill silence with nervous chatter, when you walk into a room without shrinking into corners. You are telling the world, I belong here, and that belief forces others to align with it. Confidence does not need to be shouted. It needs only to be embodied. When you shrink, you think you are protecting yourself from judgment, but you're actually inviting it, because smallness is read as weakness, and weakness draws challenge. The one who hides gets tested. The one who stands still does not have to explain. The one who takes space unapologetically is rarely asked to justify it. The hidden apology can be broken only by awareness. Once you notice when you are folding, you can choose to stop. You can let your presence fill the chair, the voice, the room, without rush, without guilt. And at first it feels strange, it feels rude, it feels wrong, but soon it becomes natural, and with it comes respect, not because people suddenly value you more, but because you finally showed them how to. They say being humble means stepping aside, lowering yourself, giving way. But humility twisted into weakness is not virtue, it is surrender. Real humility is strength under control, not erasure of self. Too many people confuse meekness with moral goodness. They teach themselves to disappear and call it honorable. They fold when their name is mentioned or a chance to speak appears. They apologize for taking up space and mask fear as modesty. This kind of humility sells your hours and your ideas to the loudest voice in the room. It teaches others they may take your place because you never defended it, and it trains you to wait for permission to matter. Humility at its best is choice, not habit. It is an action you can use without surrendering your center. It is listening with presence, giving credit where it is due, and stepping back when the moment calls for it. Yet it is also holding the line when your work or your body or your time is on the line. The lie of humility is the belief that to be small is to be noble, when in truth such smallness makes you invisible and powerless. People mistake silence for virtue and exploit it. They confuse your restraint for weakness and expect you to remain unseen. You do not earn moral goodness by shrinking. You only teach the world to take more. And the offers you wanted quietly drift past because you never signaled you were present. The honest, humble person does not compete for praise, but they do not hand their seat away. They do not erase their voice to make others comfortable. They hold their posture with dignity. They speak when necessary without seeking approval. And they refuse to let kindness become the excuse for their own erasure. If you want to practice real humility, begin by noticing where you fold. Watch the small ways you apologize for being alive, the hasty laughs you use to hide an idea, the eyes you drop when someone cuts you off, then choose differently. Stand with quiet certainty. Offer space without losing your own. Say less and mean more. Let your service come with lines that protect you. The strongest virtue is one that preserves the self while it serves it, is courage wrapped in calm. It is the ability to give without surrendering what you need. It is saying yes to others and no to being erased. The world will call this selfish if it cannot see the balance. Let them call it what they want. Because real humility does not ask permission to exist, it simply refuses to vanish. The true humble person knows when to be quiet and when to act. They do not seek praise, but they also do not vanish. They own their worth quietly. They serve with boundaries. They lead without shrinking. That is strength wrapped in discretion and dignity. Always. Every room has an invisible map. People place themselves on its lines by habit, and the person who chooses to occupy space without asking permission quietly redraws where the center is. Space is not square footage. It is attention. It is the permission you give yourself to exist. It is how your shoulders meet air and how your voice fills a pause. Those who step back by default call it politeness, but in truth they are handing decision to whoever leans forward most loudly. Opportunities will be decided without them. Credit will be reassigned, and a life that could have been theirs will be planned around their absence if they never claim a place. Begin with small corrections in the body, because posture is the first language others read. Plant both feet. Let your shoulders settle. Lift your gaze so your eyes meet people without apology. Sit fully in the seat. Place your bag on the floor beside you. Do not curl into the edge. When you speak, let your words breathe. Pause so the sentence lands. Avoid the rush that makes points vanish. These small moves interrupt the old loop of shrinking. They retrain your environment to expect that you will not be moved for someone else's comfort. Presence is taught more by posture than by pronouncement. Holding space is steadiness more than force. Steadiness asks people to meet you where you stand, instead of dragging you to where they prefer. Pay attention to responses. Some will bristle, some will open. Those who bristle reveal an attempt to feel taller by pushing others down. They show the old map insisting on its roots. Those who open simply align with clarity, and that exchange is healthy. Do not mistake pushback for failure. Friction is often the cost of a new boundary, and paying that cost is how you buy respect. Space also means time. It means protecting minutes on your calendar that matter. It means following through on ideas. It means refusing to let the urgencies of everyone else fill the gaps of your day. When you honor your own time, others learn to honor it too. Boundaries are not selfish. They are the frame that makes your priorities visible and enforceable. Saying no when necessary preserves the yeses that define your work and life, and that preservation is a kind of respect you give yourself and teach others to give back. You will be tested. People used to your smaller self will prod for old patterns. They will interrupt. They will joke to see if you still shrink. Stand through those moments. Do not mirror the collapse you once practiced. Your steadiness will outlast surprise. Over weeks, your small decisions become habit. Presence becomes natural. The room stops treating you as absence and makes you part of its map. When you stop apologizing for the space you take, your life stops shrinking to fit other people's comfort, and you begin to live in proportion to your worth. Quiet strength gently reshaping the world around you. Words are loud, but silence with presence is louder, and most people never learn how to use it because they fear empty air. They rush to fill every pause with chatter. They stumble over explanations. They pour out justifications as if silence itself could accuse them. Yet what they do not realize is that silence, when carried with confidence, is power. The one who can sit still, unbothered, unshrinking, makes others orbit them without effort, and this gravity cannot be faked with noise. It comes from a calm that suggests you are secure in yourself, that you do not need to fight for notice, that you do not beg for space because space already belongs to you. Think of a meeting where someone raises a question. The average person answers quickly, words spilling out in defense or explanation, but the person with presence waits. They hold the silence. They allow the room to feel the weight of their stillness. And when they finally speak, their words fall heavier, sharper, remembered longer. The silence was not emptiness, it was preparation, it was command. The same is true in social settings. The one who does not chase laughs, who does not scramble to reply to every jab, slowly becomes the center without lifting a finger. People wonder what they are thinking. They lean closer, they invest attention, because silence awakens curiosity in a way noise never can. Silence does not mean withdrawal. It is not weakness, it is choice, and that choice signals power. To remain calm when provoked, to hold your posture when someone challenges you, to let their words float unanswered, is to tell the room that you are above the bait. You are not hiding. You are not frozen. You are showing that you are not rattled, and nothing builds respect faster than composure under fire. People may not like you for it, but they will remember you, and memory builds influence. It is also true in relationships, where silence used well becomes presence rather than punishment. When someone accuses you, when emotions rise, you do not have to defend with long explanations. You can listen, breathe, hold the stillness, and then respond with a few grounded words. That silence makes the other person hear themselves. It forces them to reflect instead of dragging you into a storm, and in that reflection, they often soften. Silence here is not coldness, it is strength. It is the anchor that keeps both of you from drifting too far into chaos. The challenge is that silence feels heavy at first, like a void waiting to be filled, but the more you practice it, the more you learn that the weight is not yours to carry. It belongs to the other person, it belongs to the room, and you are simply holding steady while they reveal themselves. In this way, silence is not absence, it is presence, a calm gravity that bends attention, and once you master it, you no longer need to prove your worth with noise. You let the world orbit you, and you speak only when it matters. Your shoulders, your gaze, your stillness, they speak long before your mouth does, and most people underestimate how much the body broadcasts, what the heart hides. You can say you are confident, you can even try to prove it with clever words, but if your body folds into itself, the message is lost. When you hunch, when you shrink, when your eyes dart from one corner to another, you are not invisible, you are louder than you think, but the message you are sending is an apology. It tells people you do not believe in your own presence, you do not expect to be heard, you do not think you deserve the space you are standing in, and the world listens to that signal long before it processes any words that follow. Think about the people you remember most when they enter a room. They may not speak quickly, they may not even say much at all, but their posture tells you they belong. Their gaze is steady without being aggressive. Their movements are measured, their breathing calm. They hold rather than shrink, and so they broadcast command without effort. Presence does not come from volume, but from congruence between how you stand and how you feel. Even if fear flickers inside, if you hold your body steady, others read confidence. The body tricks the mind as much as it tricks the room, and in time, the steady posture becomes real belief. Every culture has subtle cues of power, but the human body responds the same across all borders. Straightened shoulders, an open chest, a calm pace, these are universal signals of strength. Shuffling feet, crossed arms, hunched backs, these are signals of doubt. Even a glance can build or break an impression. When your eyes meet someone and stay with ease, they register you as grounded. When your eyes scatter, you appear unsure, even if your words are sharp. This is why the body tells the story before you are given a chance to explain yourself. The room has already decided what kind of person you are by the way you carry yourself. The training is simple, but it requires discipline. Start with breath, because shallow breath makes the chest cave and the shoulders tighten. Breathe deeper, and the body opens on its own. Next, notice how you stand when you wait in line or walk into a meeting. Do you fold into the corner, or do you plant your feet evenly and let your arms rest with calm weight? Small choices build habit. The more you practice holding space with your body, the more natural it feels, and the more others learn to respect it. You do not need to puff your chest or force stillness, you only need to refuse to shrink. The body carries memory, and when you practice command long enough, it becomes second nature. You stop thinking about confidence because you are living it. Your posture becomes the first introduction you ever need. And without speaking, you already told the story the room will believe. People treat you the way you signal they are allowed to, and most of the time this signal is sent long before words are spoken. If you apologize for existing, they will reduce you without even thinking about it. If you lower your head too often, if you mumble your words, if you step aside before anyone asks you to, the message is clear. You are telling them that they can overlook you, interrupt you, move past you because you do not claim the same weight as they do. People rarely question these cues because human nature follows patterns. When you act small, they place you small, and when you accept it, the cycle repeats. But when you carry yourself like your presence is natural, the room changes. You do not need to demand attention with noise or arrogance. You simply hold yourself with the quiet certainty that you belong. Others begin to adjust around you the same way water moves around a stone. They may not even know why they listen a little more closely, why they pause before cutting you off, why they treat you with an extra ounce of respect. It is not because you begged for it, it is because you signaled that you expected it. Permission is not something people ask for, it is something people sense. The aura of permission is built through consistency. If you only stand tall for a moment, but fold the next day, the signal loses its power. But if you continue to show up with steady posture, with calm eye contact, with unhurried words, people stop testing your edges. They realize you will not shrink for their comfort, and they start to treat you as if you deserve the ground you walk on. This shift is subtle yet powerful. It happens in meetings when the loudest voice slows down because you did not move. It happens in friendships when people stop making small jokes at your expense because you do not laugh nervously anymore. It happens in relationships when your needs are finally respected because you no longer deliver them as apologies, but as facts. The mistake many people make is believing that respect must be negotiated or explained. In truth, it is often signaled. When you walk into a room and your energy says, "I am allowed here," you erase half the need to justify yourself. The world bends more easily than we think, but it bends toward those who are unshaken by its noise. If you want to change how people treat you, change the signal you are giving them. Stop asking with your body for permission you already have. With time, this aura becomes a shield. It tells others that you will not be handled carelessly, and it tells you that you never need to shrink to belong. The aura of permission is not arrogance. It is simply the refusal to erase yourself. And once it is felt, it cannot be unseen. The way you hold yourself reflects onto others more than you realize, and it happens instantly without effort or permission. When you move with certainty, people around you second-guess themselves because confidence unsettles them in the best way. It forces them to measure their own posture against yours, and most of the time they find themselves coming up short. When you hesitate, however, the opposite occurs. They feel stronger not because they gained new ability, but because you leaked power through uncertainty. Every gesture, every pause, every shift of the eyes is a signal, and human beings are wired to read those signals before words are ever processed. Think about times you have watched someone enter a room with ease. They did not rush. They did not scan the floor nervously. They simply walked as if the space was already theirs. Without saying anything, they changed the energy. People adjusted their own stance. They softened their voices. They leaned in closer to hear. That is the mirror effect. The presence of one person becomes the reflection that others take on. This is why power is contagious, but so is doubt. When you speak in a rushed tone, those listening may not even notice the words, but they feel the rush, and they assume the idea is weak. When you speak slowly and with stillness, they feel the calm, and they assume the idea carries weight. The mirror effect works in every layer of life. In work, it decides who is listened to and who is dismissed. In friendships, it sets the tone of respect or mockery. In relationships, it defines whether your needs are honored or ignored. If you consistently hesitate, if you consistently show nerves, if you consistently fold your posture, you reflect weakness back into the people around you, and they take it as permission to lead over you. But when you consistently hold steady, when your body language is calm, when your silence is deliberate, you reflect confidence, and they take it as instruction to treat you with more care. You cannot control how people think, but you can control what you mirror back to them. If you want people to doubt themselves, mirror certainty. If you want them to lose control, mirror composure. If you want them to chase your validation, mirror disinterest. The game is not about loudness, but about signals, and the one who controls the reflection controls the mood of the room. This is why training your presence is less about what you say and more about what you show. Even when fear is inside, you can train your posture to hold steady, and in time the inside begins to match the outside. The mirror effect is unavoidable, but it can be directed. Let your certainty become their hesitation. Let your calm become their storm, and let your steadiness become the quiet weight that tilts every room in your favor. The strongest stance is when you do not justify your size, your voice, your ambition, and it is harder than it sounds because most people are trained from childhood to explain themselves. They learn to add soft words at the start of every sentence just to sound polite. They learn to shrink their tone so they do not disturb. They learn to say sorry before they even ask a question. These habits seem small, but they carve deep grooves into a life, and soon the person cannot speak without lowering themselves. The truth is, every sorry spoken without need is a thread pulled from your authority. Every excuse added to soften your presence is a small surrender, and surrender stacked over years becomes an invisible cage. You do not need to explain why you belong in a room. You do not need to defend why your goals are large or why your pace is fast. The people who ask you to soften are often the ones who fear being reminded of their own hesitation. Your size unsettles them. Your voice reminds them of their silence. Your ambition highlights the comfort zones they never left. When you shrink to calm them, you are not being kind. You are feeding their insecurity and starving your own growth. Real kindness is not in making yourself smaller. It is in living fully so that others see what is possible when you refuse to apologize for existence. Notice the moments when you catch yourself adding excuses. You say, "I might be wrong, but here is my thought," or you say, "I am sorry, but can I ask a question?" Or you say, "This may sound silly, but I have an idea." Each phrase is a shield you put up before anyone even aims at you. Stop carrying the shield. Say the thought directly. Ask the question directly. Share the idea without apology. You will feel the room change when you do this. At first there may be silence because people are used to the softened version of you, but soon that silence turns into weight, and your words begin to carry more respect. No words, no excuses, means you let your presence be enough. You do not soften your tone to make others comfortable. You do not hide your drive to avoid envy. You do not rush to explain why you want more. You let the full force of your being stand in the open, and you watch how those who are secure respect it, and those who are insecure fear it. Either way, you have won, because you did not lose yourself in the attempt to please. The stance is simple but powerful. You exist in full, and that alone unsettles the insecure. Confidence is not about proving you are right. It is about refusing to act like you need permission. The world bends more easily than you think, but only for those who stand without apology. At first it feels forced. Straightening your back feels like an act. Meeting eyes feels unnatural. Holding still feels like performance. You wonder if people can see through you, if they can tell you are practicing something that is not yet your natural state. But that is how every transformation begins, with small choices, repeated until they become second nature. What feels like acting at the start slowly rewires the body, the mind, and the perception others have of you, until the act is no longer separate from who you are. In the beginning, you remind yourself to pause instead of rush. You catch yourself before adding empty apologies. You practice sitting in silence, even when the urge to fill it presses against your chest. It is uncomfortable because it breaks years of training and years of survival habits. Yet each time you hold the line, something subtle shifts. People listen longer when you speak. They glance twice when you enter a room. They measure their words more carefully around you. The signal is being sent even before you feel it inside, and this external feedback begins to reinforce your inner state. With time, you no longer need to remind yourself to sit tall or to breathe deeply or to meet eyes calmly, because the habits have settled into you like muscle memory. You do not think about confidence because it radiates through you without effort. Others sense it before you open your mouth. They describe you as grounded or composed or magnetic, but what they are really noticing is the aura that forms when your inner belief and your outer signals finally match. It is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about the absence of apology. The final state is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and undeniable. You do not chase attention, yet people watch you. You do not argue for respect, yet people hesitate before crossing your lines. You do not demand space, yet rooms seem to adjust to you. This is the evolution to aura, the point where you no longer perform confidence, you embody it. And when you embody it, you become untouchable, not because no one dares to test you, but because their tests no longer matter. You are unapologetic because you no longer waste energy softening yourself to fit other people's comfort. You are undeniable because presence itself has become your proof. This aura is not arrogance, it is freedom. Freedom from the need to explain. Freedom from the need to defend, freedom from the need to shrink. It is the natural result of practicing presence until presence becomes who you are. And once you reach this state, you carry with you a calm power that bends the air around you. People cannot always describe it, but they feel it and they respond to it. That is the evolution to aura, the point where you no longer try to be confident, because you have become confidence itself. Maybe this video helped you see yourself or someone you know in a different way. Feel free to let us know via a like or in the comments. And if you want more wisdom and guidance in becoming a better version of yourself, subscribe now. This is the moment to start becoming the person you really want to be.